You stand in your brand new kitchen on a quiet Sunday morning. Sunlight spilling across the worktop, the kettle humming softly, that unmistakable smell of fresh paint still lingering in the air. This is the moment you worked for. Years of saving deposits, surviving mortgage checks, navigating the madness of the housing market. And now, here it is, your new build home. Clean walls, perfect floors, the promise of a low-maintenance future. The developer told you it was modern, energy efficient, built to the highest standards, and protected by a 10-year warranty from the National House Building Council. You feel proud, relieved, maybe even a little victorious. Then, one morning, a brown envelope lands on your doormat. Inside is a letter from the estate management company demanding £480 for communal maintenance fees, rising annually. At the same time, you discover your walls sound hollow when you knock them. The garden floods after heavy rain, and the developer's customer service line suddenly stops answering. Welcome to the new build property trap of 2026. And if you own a recently built home in Britain, you need to listen very carefully, because this issue is spreading across the country right now. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, because channels like this survive only because homeowners support each other. We are fighting a system that profits from silence, and your support is our shield. Now, here is the uncomfortable reality. Britain is building houses faster than at almost any point in recent history. Yet the financial pressure behind that building boom is enormous. Bankrupt local councils are issuing Section 114 notices. The housing crisis continues to drive demand, and developers are racing to complete properties before financial reporting deadlines. That pressure changes how homes are built. Instead of traditional plaster directly onto brickwork, many modern homes use dot and dab plasterboard installation, where plasterboard glued to internal walls using adhesive pads. It is quicker, it is cheaper, but it also creates hollow cavities behind your walls. That means mounting a television or shelving becomes far more complicated than most buyers expect. Sound insulation can suffer. Even basic wall fixtures may require specialist anchors drilled deep into the masonry. And then there is snagging, the polite industry term for defects discovered after you move in. In theory, the developer repairs them. In practice, homeowners across the country report months of waiting while lists of issues grow longer. Cracked plaster, doors that will not close properly, poorly sealed bathrooms, warped kitchen units. This is where the cruelty of the system truly shines. Because once contracts are signed and mortgages are active, the leverage shifts dramatically away from you. But the structural issues inside your home are only part of the story. Outside your front door, something even more controversial may already be written into your property deeds, quietly extracting money year after year. And if you have never heard the word fleecehold before, you may be about to discover exactly how expensive your dream home can become. You now know the trap surrounding Britain's new build homes in 2026. But the part most homeowners never see is how the system actually tracks you, flags you, and quietly extracts money from your property long after the developer has moved on. Because when you buy a modern new build, your relationship is no longer just with your mortgage lender or your council. It now involves estate management companies, data-sharing property databases, and legal covenants written deep into your deeds. And here is where the surveillance begins. At first, it looks harmless. Land Registry records your purchase under the Land Registration Act 2002. Mortgage lenders log your property details through credit reference agencies. Conveyancing firms upload contract information into digital property management systems used by developers and management companies. That seems normal. But the system escalates quickly. Estate management firms cross-reference your title register with management covenant databases that track which homes must pay annual estate charges. Miss a payment, and automated collection systems begin monitoring your account. Then comes the second layer. Credit agencies such as Experian and Equifax increasingly integrate property-linked obligations into financial risk scoring. That means your home's legal covenants can quietly affect your financial profile. And then the final escalation arrives. If disputes arise over maintenance charges or estate fees, legal enforcement mechanisms written into your deed allow companies to apply penalties, interest charges, and, in extreme cases, even possession proceedings through rent charge enforcement powers rooted in the Law of Property Act 1925. The algorithm flags your property, the trap snaps shut, and the damage can be devastating. Take the case of a retired grandmother in the Midlands who bought a modest new-build bungalow, expecting a peaceful retirement. Her annual estate charge started at £295. Within 4 years, it rose to £690 as management costs increased. When she challenged the fees, the management company cited the covenant attached to her freehold title. The legal obligation stood. After missing 2 payments during a winter heating crisis, the account accumulated late penalties and legal costs. By the time she received formal letters from debt collectors, the bill had climbed above £2,300. This is where the cruelty of the system truly shines. Because most buyers assume freehold means freedom. They believe that once they own the property and land, no private company can charge them indefinitely. You think you are safe. You are not. Under modern estate management arrangements, sometimes called fleecehold, homeowners can legally be required to fund the maintenance of private roads, lighting, drainage systems, and green spaces inside developments. And because bankrupt local councils increasingly refuse to adopt those assets, developers leave them under private management instead. The cost transfers quietly to homeowners. But here is the most dangerous myth of all, and it is one that thousands of buyers still believe when they sign their contracts. Many people assume these charges are capped, regulated, or controlled by strict consumer protection laws. That assumption feels comforting. Unfortunately, it is also dangerously wrong. The myth we ended with is the most dangerous belief in the entire new build housing market. That estate management fees on so-called freehold homes are capped, controlled, or regulated like council tax. They are not. In many cases, they behave more like a stealth tax that never appears in government budgets but still drains your bank account every year. The legal reality sits inside covenants attached to your property title, enforceable under provisions linked to the Law of Property Act 1925, and supported through modern conveyancing structures used by developers. In plain English, when you bought your home, you likely agreed that a private management company could charge you annually for maintaining roads, drainage, lighting, and communal spaces on the estate. And those fees often contain escalation clauses. Here is what that means in numbers. Imagine your estate management charge begins at £350 a year when you move in. That seems manageable. But the contract allows annual increases based on maintenance costs and administrative charges. Within 5 years, it becomes £520. After 10 years, it climbs to £780. Add occasional major works charges for resurfacing private roads or replacing drainage systems, and you might suddenly face a £1,500 bill on top of your mortgage and council tax. Welcome to the Fleecehold wealth grab of 2026. This is where frozen thresholds across the wider tax system make everything worse. While wages struggle to keep pace with inflation and councils face financial collapse, homeowners absorb more and more private costs, once handled by public services. And if disputes arise, the legal balance rarely favours you. A tribunal case often cited by housing lawyers, Roberts v. Lawton 2016, in the upper tribunal, confirmed that rent charge-style enforcement mechanisms can remain legally valid even on modern housing estates. That means enforcement powers can reach far further than most homeowners expect. Miss payments long enough and collection agents escalate quickly. Interest compounds. Legal letters arrive. A brown envelope lands on your doormat again, this time carrying the language of enforcement rather than administration. You feel trapped, angry, powerless. This is the emotional bottom of the entire system. But you do not have to be a victim of it. Stop. Take a breath. The law has very specific boundaries, and if you know them, you become far harder for this system to exploit. Here is your new build homeowner survival guide for 2026. Strategy 1 is what property lawyers quietly call the covenant exposure audit. Under the Land Registration Act 2002, you have the legal right to obtain and inspect your full title register and title plan from HM Land Registry for a small fee. That document reveals every covenant attached to your property, including estate management obligations and escalation clauses. Most homeowners never read it. Developers know that. But once you understand exactly what the covenant allows and what it does not allow, you gain leverage. Because many management companies rely on vague wording and homeowner confusion to enforce charges aggressively. Read the covenant line by line. Identify the maintenance obligations it actually covers. When you understand the legal boundaries written into that document, the balance of power begins to shift back toward you. Once you have exposed the covenant through the title register, the next step in your new build homeowner survival guide for 2026 is understanding how to stop the system tightening the screws further. Strategy 2 is what lawyers quietly call the silence breaker. The biggest mistake homeowners make is ignoring estate management letters because the fees feel unfair or confusing. That silence works against you. Management firms interpret it as non-engagement and escalate collection procedures quickly. Do not panic. Do not surrender. Respond immediately in writing and request a full itemized breakdown of every charge. Under consumer contract principles and property management standards, companies must justify the services they claim to provide. When homeowners demand documentation, inflated or poorly explained charges often begin to unravel. Strategy 3 is the data rights challenge. Most homeowners never realize that management companies and developers hold large files of personal property data about them. Under the Data Protection Act 2018 and UK GDPR, you have the right to submit a subject access request asking for every record they hold on you. That includes payment histories, enforcement notes, internal correspondence, and automated account flags. When you see the internal file, you often discover errors, assumptions, or automated decisions that triggered escalating fees. That evidence becomes powerful if you challenge charges through a property tribunal. Strategy 4 is the recovery route for those already trapped. If enforcement letters have arrived or fees have spiraled, you can challenge the reasonableness of estate charges through the first-tier tribunal property chamber, the same system that hears disputes under the Landlord and Tenant Act 1985. The process exists specifically to protect homeowners when management companies push too far. This entire situation exists because the system quietly transferred public responsibilities onto private homeowners while councils collapsed under financial pressure. But knowledge changes everything. Read your deeds, challenge unexplained charges, and never sign property contracts without independent legal advice. Share your experiences below so other homeowners can see what is happening across Britain. Stay strong, know the law, and read your property covenants carefully. I will see you in the next one.